Hi everyone. So at school, we may be asked to change from one linear measure to another linear measure, or in other words, from one unit to another unit, right? So they might ask us to change from one unit to another unit. Now, at SCA level, we are required to know these, and there's a shorter way because we don't really have to know the ones like the decameter, the hectometer, and so on, right? We should know them, right? We should know all of them, but the ones that we commonly convert to and from will be these. So let me write down all from the smallest to the biggest. So the smallest will be the millimeter. Then we have the centimeter. Then we have the decimeter. Then we have the meter. Then we have the decameter. Then the hectometer. And then the kilometer. Right? So I'm just putting the names up on top so we know that. So we have the millimeter. We write it as one word. The centimeter. We have the decimeter. Then the meter. This here is the decameter. Then we have the hectometer. Then we have the kilometer, or some might pronounce it as the kilometer. Right. So basically, in order to change from each of them, we can say that there's 10 in between each. Right, so we can say that there's like 10 in between each. So to change from millimeter to centimeter, it's 10 units in between it. To change from centimeter to decimeter, there's 10 in between it. Then from decimeter to meter, there's 10. Now, we mainly look at these here. Right, so these are the ones we mainly look at. So we have the millimeter, centimeter, meter, and kilometer. Can we remember them from smallest to biggest? So these are the common ones we'll be using. Can we remember it from smallest to biggest? Millimeter, centimeter, meter, and then kilometer. Now with practice, you will. So let's see how much is in between the millimeter and the centimeter. In between it, we have 10. Let's see how much is in between the centimeter and the meter. So look at it. So looking up here, we have centimeter, and we want to get to the meter. So we have to go 10. So we have 10 here, and we have 10 here, but we're multiplying. So 10 times 10 was 100. And then we want to get from the meter to the kilometer. So we're going to start from the meter and we want to get to the kilometer. So we have from the meter to decameter, we have 10. From the decameter to the hectometer, we have another 10. And then from the hectometer to the kilometer, we have another 10. So that's 10, and then multiplying each of them, adding, multiplying. So 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. Now, can we remember this? Of course we can. So let's try it. So I'm going to block it, and then we're going to redo it. So remember, you're going to remember from the smallest to the biggest. So we have millimeters, centimeters, meters, oops, and kilometers. Do you remember what number we had here? Without looking at this, right? So we had 10. In between here, right? So in between the centimeter and the meter, we had 100. And in between the meter and the kilometer, we had 1,000. So we could remember this chart. Now, if we are given a question to complete from one unit to another, we could remember, label all of your units from smallest to biggest, and then you have 10, 100, 1,000. Now, in between them, when we look above, it tells us how much is in between them. So between millimeters and centimeters, right? So this is just information I'm taking from the chart. This is all we have to remember. But from that, we can get that between millimeters and centimeters, it's 10. In between centimeters and meters, look at what's above it in between it. So between centimeters and meters, we have 100 units in between them. In between meters and kilometers, look at what's above. We have 1,000. So between meters and kilometers, we have 1,000 units. But what if we want to know how much is in between millimeters and meters? So we jump in a few. So we're going from millimeters to meters. I'm seeing above, I'm seeing 10 and 100. Anytime you're skipping units, you have to multiply what is above them. Right? So you'll have to multiply that. So between millimeters and meters, Above them, we have 10 and 100. So when I multiply 10 times 100, that's 1,000 in between them. How about if I wanted to change from centimeters to kilometers? Another big jump, centimeters into kilometers. So centimeters into kilometers. We have above them 10, 100 and 1,000. So between centimeters and kilometers, we have 100 times 1,000, which is 100,000. So all we're doing is we're remembering this chart. And whatever we are changing from and to, we look at how much is in between them. All right. So we may be asked to convert or to change one unit to another unit, right? So as we go in this direction, right? So as we go in this direction, our units are getting bigger, right? So from millimeters, then to centimeters, then to meters, then to kilometers, it's all getting bigger. But if we move the other way, it's getting smaller, right? Now, they may ask us to change from one unit to another unit. If we move, I'm almost finished, from smaller units to bigger units, oops, right? So from smaller units to bigger units, or we can change from bigger units to smaller units. Now here's how I remember it. So if we are moving from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, the rule is smaller to bigger, we divide. And if you go the other way, meaning bigger units to smaller units, we multiply. Now here's how we're going to remember that. So smaller units to bigger units, we divide. And bigger units to smaller units, we multiply. So I remember it. Now, if you look outside, it's sunny. It's a beautiful sunny day today. Right? Sunny day that this is recorded. it's a beautiful sunny day. And we know that sunny days, everybody loves sunny days, right? So sunny days bring miracles. Right, so we want to remember sunny days bring miracles. Right, so the S means smaller units to bigger units. So we started with S for smaller. So we're going to divide. But if we're starting with B for bigger, we have to multiply. So it's going to be sunny days bring miracles. All right, so let's say they gave us a question like this. Now, in an exam, we have nothing we can look back on to recall these units. So that means we have to get it from our memory, right? So we have to be able to remember what is in between each of them. So on a test or question, let's say they gave us to convert to the units shown. We know we're dealing with linear measure, dealing with the meter. So on the test, you ask yourself, okay, what were all of the units we're focusing on? From the smallest to the biggest, we have the millimeter, right? So from the smallest to the largest, we have the millimeter, then the centimeter, then the meter, and then the kilometer. So you could write this once on your page, nice and neat, small, right? We know that in between millimeter and centimeter was 10. In between centimeter and meter was 100. And in between meter and kilometer was 1,000. So this one, they asked us change from meter into centimeter. All right, so first things first, you look at your chart. In between meter and centimeter, you look at what's above. So above the meter and the centimeter, it's 100. So what that means is that there's 100 units in between them. Do we multiply by 100 or do we divide? If we want to know which way to go, remember, sunny days bring miracles. Sunny, as for sunny, remember that smaller to bigger. We divide. And then brings the miracles that will be bigger to smaller. I'm writing small. So that means we're going to multiply, right? So that's how we're going to remember it. Sunny days, smaller to bigger, we divide, brings miracles. Bigger to smaller, we multiply. Right? So we're moving from, right? So we're moving from this one here. We have 26 meters. Meters is bigger than centimeters. So we're moving from a bigger unit to a smaller unit. So we have to multiply. So it'll be 26 times 100, which will be 2,600 centimeters. Let's take a look at the other one. 97 meters into millimeters. So in between millimeters and meters, right? Because you're changing from meters into millimeters. You look at what's above it. So you have 10 and 100. So anytime you have more than one number in between the gap, we multiply them. So 10 times 100 is 1,000. So meter to millimeter. Meter is bigger. So that means we're moving from bigger to smaller. Bigger to smaller, we multiply. So it's going to be 97 times 1,000, which will be 97,000 millimeters. All right, so last two. All right, so let's take a look at the other side now. So on the other side, they gave us 9,000 centimeters, and they asked us to change it into meters. So centimeters and meters. Look at how much is in between them. Above them is 100. So we have to do something with 100. Do we multiply or do we divide? So we're moving from centimeters to meters. Centimeters is smaller than meters. So we're moving from a smaller to a bigger. Smaller to bigger, we divide. So for this one, we have to divide 9,000 by 100. Now, if we're dividing 9,000 by 100, look at what we can do to make it easier. There are two ways you could look at it. Remember when we did fractions and decimals and percentages, we saw that anytime we divide by 100, 1,000, 10, etc., we move the point to the left. Right? So we could put the decimal point. There's no decimal point in 9,000, but in a whole number, we understand that it's after the last digit. So we're going to move 2 places left. So 1, 2. Where you land, you put your points. So we have 90. Or if you find that way confusing, but you still have to move this way as well, you can put 9,000, divide, you can write it like this, by 100, and we can cancel out the zeros. And we get 90. So either put the decimal point on the end, move it 2 places inward, and then write it with the new decimal point, or you put it, this means to divide. This also means to divide. So if we write it like this, we could cancel 1 0 to 1 0, 1 0 to another, and we end up with 90 here. So it depends on which method you prefer. Then last one. They gave us 6,000 cm to meters. Cm to meters, again, 100. What do we do with the 100? Do we multiply? Do we divide? So you ask yourself, are we moving from a smaller to a bigger or a bigger to a smaller?
Yeah, we move from a smaller to a bigger, so we divide.
Correct. So we're moving smaller to bigger, so we divide. So you have 6,000 divided by 100. So it's either you put the decimal point and move it 2 places left. So it'll get 60.00, but we can leave off that part and just put 60. Or if you choose to see it, you'll have 6,000 divided by 100. cancel bottom with the top. Bottom with the top says 1, 0, cancel it 1, and you get 60. So it's just two ways that you could look at it to solve it. All right, so practice makes perfect.